Grace and peace, Black family. This is Vicky Dillard, your sister with the curly braids. And I want you to get ready for the new Master Elements project, The Spear and the Shield.
This vaccine isn't experimental. It's like a dandelion. You overlook it for they weird science.
DJ RP Beats and Sincere Love the God have taken this time during the pandemic to carefully craft the soundtrack to Black empowerment with hot tracks like God Mine, featuring Sadat X of the legendary group Brand Nubians.
We never die. I made an ancestral shrine. Let's see what's in the God's mind. Listen, I'm a law in the person of Sincere Love the God. That mean your arms too short like Carl Anthony Shaw.
God painted me black.
God painted me black. Thanks for that. I'm a original man.
A letter to Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING.
I say to the ancestors. Dear Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING, I just wanted to thank you for all the lessons you left us. So yes, I'm more than grateful.
And the controversial song Buck Breaking God today.
Why every black show they gotta have a transgender? Either I'm crazy or this gotta be a planned agenda.
Get ready, Black family. This is a much needed project. This is The Spear and the Shield.
This is America. The greatest atrocity against mankind. American chattel slavery. If you traced your lineage, what would you find? Do you know where your roots lead to?
In the last 500 years, Black people in this area of the world, we can say that there's no such thing as Black culture. What there is what the system of racism, white supremacy programs Black people to do. You see, in other words, if the system of racism, white supremacy says, you are not going to be scientists. You are not going to be highly functioning doctors and lawyers and teachers. You are not going to have stable family life. You are not going to respect sex. Now, your role is to entertain me so you can jump up and down and sing. You can dance, and yes, you're good at sports. You can do that in some venues. That's what I'm going to allow you to do. I'm not going to allow you to have stable communities, because if you have a Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'm going to burn that down. If you think you're going to stabilize a so-called middle-class community and you're going to have a home that's mortgaged, I'm going to see that those mortgages are foreclosed so that you can be into family dissolution, place of living dissolved. So what we can say is that we have an imposed culture under the power dynamics of racism, white supremacy. See, I can see right now in my mind the picture of Beyonce with her legs wide open at the Super Bowl for last year. It was so appalling to me, I can't get it out of my mind in terms of what has been done to us. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we would be wiser. No, we are trying to get ourselves to the point where we can establish what we would then call Black culture, where we will no longer be victims of a system of racism, white supremacy. So once the system of racism, white supremacy has been replaced with a system of justice, that's when we will start talking about our culture. that's when we will begin talking about who we really are as black people.
Most resilient, we poster children of prophecy fulfillment. We gotta be God's children.
Try this strange 10-second technique tonight.
Oh, Lord. Get that out of here. Get that out of here. All right. Let me see. What's going on, family? I'm here. I am here. Late than a mug, but I am here. Appreciate y'all tapping in with me. Welcome to another episode of SincereluvdagodCast. I am the God Sincere Love, and I am solo dolo once again. My sister nyctegur is out doing her combat training with Redstone Firearms out there in LA. Shout out to Redstone Firearms. Shout out to my co-host nyctegur out there doing the damn thing. Who we got in the building? Already, man? Let me see who up in here. Danielle Witten, peace. What's going on? How you say that? I'm gonna just say Mama Mysterious. I don't know what the rest of that say, but shout out to Mama Mysterious in the building. Make sure that y'all hit the like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching me on Facebook or Twitter. Make sure you head on over to the YouTube channel and click that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we go live with new episodes of SincereluvdagodCast. We do this every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. This is our weekly show where we cover current events and talk about other important topics pertaining to black society. And on Wednesdays and Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, we have our weekly series of the Black Business Showcase, where we bring on business owners and entrepreneurs and chop up some good old-fashioned game about business and things of that nature. So make sure that y'all tap in with us for that as well. Also, make sure you guys are following me. I'm at SincereluvdaGod on all social media platforms. My sister nyctegur can be found at nyctegur with the number 1 on Instagram and without the number 1 on Twitter. So let me see here. Where we at? Okay. Let me see. Is this the one? Boom. All right. Now we rocking and rolling. Let me delete this. Give me 1 second, family. All right. Let's get into today's show, man. I'm a little bit all over the place, man. I had a lot going on. You know, we usually start at 4 p.m. I had to push the time back today because I was running around doing some family stuff, some household stuff. So my youngest son name is Jason. I'm his raise. Hold on, let me see. So Jay's raise, something like that. I still don't get it, beloved. I still don't get it. I feel like I still ain't saying it right. But all right, you put together something with you and your son for your handle on here. I got you. And so I don't know, man. I'm gonna let y'all help me dictate how we gonna rock today, because I didn't have everything set up the way I wanted it to have set up. And so there's a lot to cover today as far as what's in the news, current events, and things of that nature. But the main topic for today that I want to talk about is dealing with the clip that I opened up with. And shout out to Carlito's Way. He's at Carlito's Way on Instagram, the brother that does those cartoons. Let me make sure I give him a proper shout out. Is it Carlito's Way? I think it's Carlito's Way. It's not. I always forget exactly what his handle is, man. But it's hip hop cartoons on YouTube. Carlito. Ways. Damn, I forgot the Instagram handle. If one of y'all know the brother's Instagram handle, put it inside the chat for me. But shout out to that brother. He does those cartoons. He does a lot of the cartoons with brother Neely Fuller. He has a bunch of them out there with Neely Fuller. But that one obviously was with the master teacher, Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING. Peace be upon her. And she was saying something very interesting in that clip. You know, that was an interesting clip that he chose, and the title of it was an imposed culture. And I had posted it. I reposted it on my Instagram page, and the feedback that I was getting from some of the people made me want to do a show, you know, based on that, have an open conversation about that whole concept, because we've been talking about foundational Black American culture. We've been talking about us laying claim to our cultural accomplishments as far as this whole hip hop conversation has been concerned. And I still want to talk about that as well. I still want to talk about the hip hop thing. Like I told you, that's going to be an ongoing conversation for a while because there's a lot to cover. You know what I'm saying? It's not a simple history the way that they try to tell it. You know, again, Kool Herc had a party in 1973. We're not really sure what happened after that. And then 1979, Sugar Hill Gang came out with Rapper's Delight, and boom, that's the history of hip hop. You know, for the most part, they simplify the story, they oversimplify the story. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot more to it, and so we're going to continue to have that conversation and break down the history of hip hop on this channel. But that is a part of foundational Black American culture. As well as other things that we've been mentioning, that we've been laying claim to. That's part of our unique history and culture here in the wilderness in North America. But the question that was posed based on that post and that clip from Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING was, is there actually a such thing as Black culture? Or do we only have what has been imposed on us by our oppressor? And so that's the theme of today's show. That's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to get into and unpack. Hopefully some of the people who was in the comment section on Instagram that kind of felt some type of way about it, who was disagreeing with it, hopefully that they pull up today so we can have the conversation and really deal with this thing, man, because we can't allow ourselves to be driven by just our ego. You know what I'm saying? The ego is important, but the ego has to be disciplined. You know what I'm saying? The ego has to be put in its proper perspective. You know what I'm saying? And so we can't just have our chest poked out. Oh yeah, we foundational Black Americans. We are the culture. You know what I'm saying? We set the standard. Everybody follow us. These things are true. I'm not here to deny none of these things, right? But at the same time, it's much deeper than that, and we're not in a position to be really patting ourselves on the back and doing victory laps. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of internal work that needs to be done for us to truly have Black power, Black liberation, and for us to truly produce what we can really call Black culture. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're gonna get into today. And I don't know, should I do some of the stories in the news before we get into that, or should I get right into that? Should I talk about some of the hip hop stuff? I want to talk about some of the hip hop stuff because a lot of people have been talking about it. You know, the grassroots. You know, we responded appropriately when Busta Rhymes and Fat Joe came out saying the nonsense that they were saying. Crazy Legs and all these people came out saying the crazy stuff that we were saying. People on the grassroots responded appropriately and started cleaning a lot of this stuff up on social media, bringing receipts and showing that what they were saying was false. And then that turned into a lot of other people who have larger platforms having to talk about it as well. You know what I'm saying? The conversation started on the grassroots, and now it's kind of getting more elevated. And one person in particular that spoke on it recently is Brother Lord Jamal from Brand Nubians, or Lord Jamal from, you know what I mean, Godcast, depending on how you know Lord Jamal. And Lord Jamal, as many of y'all know, I've said it plenty of times, is somebody that, you know, I've always obviously have respect for and admire. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big fan of Brand Nubians. Lord Jamal is somebody who's been holding it down, you know, post his Brand Nubians career. You know what I mean? Coming onto the internet, you know, when he was on Vlad a lot. Shout out to Jackson Harlem. I see you, King. When he was on Vlad TV a lot, he was on there saying a lot of real shit. And almost him by himself brought a lot of balance to that platform. Because we all know, you know, Vlad platform was pushing a lot of bullshit and focusing on a lot of the lower aspects of the culture. You know what I'm saying? And Lord Jamal, damn near by himself. There was some others, but Lord Jamal was on there pretty frequently, and almost him by himself balanced out a lot of the nonsense that was going on that channel. And so, you know, a lot of times we see people in their younger years throwing up the black fist and, you know, holding it down for black empowerment. And then as they start getting older, they start softening up their stance. They start switching up. They start trying to conform. And I don't know what it is about, you know what I'm saying? When niggas start getting a little bit of age on them, they start losing that fight. And so it was good to see Lord Jamal aging in hip hop and still being consistent in that way. You know what I'm saying? He kind of started this whole conversation about who was a guest in hip hop when he went on Vlad TV and he talked about how Eminem was a guest in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And so again, I say all that to say that, you know, he's somebody that I respect his opinion. You know what I'm saying? I know he knows a lot of the hip hop history as well. He's been around for a long time, you know what I'm saying, as far as the industry is concerned, but even before the industry, you know what I'm saying, him being from out there in Westchester, New York, New Rochelle, real close to the Bronx, you know what I'm saying? He grew up around a lot of the OGs, a lot of the legends, a lot of the pioneers. He's had many of them on his platform. I mentioned the interview that he did with Grand Mixer DXT, who breaks down the history in the real way. And so I was looking forward to Lord Jamal speaking on this topic, and he did. And it was interesting to me. So I kind of want to respond to the broadcast that he did on hip hop. And I don't have the timestamp set up, so I will have to go through it and find the parts that I kind of want to give my take on. So those of y'all that are here with me right now, let me get y'all opinion. What should I do? What should I do first? Should we go with the main topic from the clip with Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING was challenging us on whether or not there's a such thing as black culture? Should we go to the Lord Jamal clip and have me respond to his take on this whole hip hop conversation? Who started hip hop conversation? Or should we do some of the stories in the news? What should we do first? I'm asking y'all, help me out. I don't got my co-host with me. I'm solo dolo today. So let me get some energy in the chat. Where should I go with it first, family? Where should I take it first? There's a lot of stories in the news. I'm definitely not going to be able to get to all of them, but I could do a few. Anybody have an opinion on that? Danielle says I should do the news. Danielle says I should start off with the news. Is there anything in the particular? Okay, yeah. Actually, I will do that. Because there is a big story right now. Okay. Mama Mysterious says the news. Jackson want to hit up Lord Jamal. Okay. I am going to start off with the news because there's a big story coming out of Jackson, Mississippi, about the water crisis that's happening down there. Let me see. Let me open up my other page over here. So we got Flint, Michigan 2.0 happening down in Mississippi right now. And let me see if I could find the story over here. And shout out to my people down there in Mississippi, man. Y'all hold it down. Let me see. Okay, that's one. That's one. I want to go to one of the stories, actually. I don't want to do the social media clip. But yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I will start it off with that one because it has some visuals in there as well. So let's go to that. Let's go to that. I'm not going to do that many stories today, though, because it's just way too much going on for me to cover everything. All right, let me share my screen with y'all. All right, cool. Let me make that a little bigger, though. All right. All right, check this out.
People in Jackson, Mississippi are being told to shower with their mouths closed because they don't have access to clean water.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
So what do racism and profit-based interests have to do with a crisis like this? For starters, when water infrastructure was first being built in the US, only the rich could afford to get it. Running water utilities is still a money-making business 200 years later. You see, even though most water systems are owned by local governments, private companies are usually doing the work to treat, repair, and maintain them. In Jackson, that contractor was a company called Siemens. It turned out to be such a bad deal for the city that Jackson won a nearly $90 million settlement over Siemens' botched work. But the roots of this crisis run much deeper. When Mississippi was finally forced to desegregate schools in 1970, white people left for the suburbs and took tax revenue with them. Today, you've got a city that is largely Black, with a quarter of people living in poverty, and a crumbling water service that's been neglected for years. Here's what the city of Jackson's mayor has to say about it.
This is a set of accumulated problems based on deferred maintenance that has not taken place over decades.
And then major flooding finally broke the system. And this is an ongoing problem for communities of color across America. In Flint, Newark, Detroit, and on Native reservations, water is not being treated like a human right. And because companies don't sell water as an essential service, they often prioritize short-term profit over repairs and cleanups. But those costs eventually end up on your water bill. So what's happening in Jackson is part of a systemic failure by this country to keep water affordable and accessible for its most marginalized residents.
All right, so that was a good piece by NPR right there. That was a good piece by NPR right there. The thing that's crazy to me about this whole water crisis thing that's taking place right now is, man, we've been talking about all of these stories on this channel over the past year now about the Ukraine, about the Afghans, who else? The Asian community, Israel, of course, some of these Native American tribes. All of these people have been getting bags, major bags. Say what's up to you in the chat, Seth.
Hey.
Say peace.
Hi. I hope Nan is coming on.
She's on vacation. But yeah, these people have been getting major bags, man. They done cut, I forgot how many billions for the Ukraine already. I forgot how many billions they done sent for the Ukraines already. All of these other groups, the minute that there's a problem, our federal government got a check. They got a blank check. The minute that there's a problem with any of these communities, and notice these water crises always take place in Black areas. You know what I'm saying? And so they got all of these billions of dollars for things that are happening in other countries, things that ain't got nothing to do with us over here, really. Right? You got international affairs that take place that, you know, certain stuff that happens around the world does have an effect on what happens here as well. But at the end of the day, what's happening at home should always be prioritized. You know what I'm saying? But soon as something happens in one of these other countries, like I said, blank check. How much y'all need? How much y'all need this month? We'll circle back with you next month to see how well you did with that. And we've been covering it all year on this channel, how much money they have been just throwing around out here. They've been making it rain. And now you got this major water crisis going on in Mississippi. People can't even flush the toilet. They telling people, oh, just take them out, take a shower with your mouth closed. Don't drink the water. They ain't say nothing about here goes some money. Let's fix what's going on down there. They ain't even mention the possibility of cutting a check, sending some resources down there to fix the water problem. And this has been going on for decades. This ain't something that just sprung up out of nowhere. This is something that they knew eventually it was going to get to this point. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just crazy how, again, even when we talk about the hip hop thing, we talk about how it's left to us on the grassroots to kind of straighten out the history as far as that's concerned. When it comes to this water crisis, again, it's left to us on the grassroots to figure out who is a viable organization to donate to that's really going to make sure that the resources get allocated to really help the people down there. You know what I'm saying? We got to figure out ways and be as creative as possible with our meager resources to try to fix what's going on down here. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to play this brother right here too, man. This brother, we've been talking about him for a while. Down there, where's he located at? The brother that makes the water machines, Moses. This brother right here. I forgot where he's located at, but he's trying to help out down there in Mississippi as well. And so to me, this is a good place, a good brother to donate to if you want to try to help out what's going on down there in Mississippi. And let me see. I'm not going to play the whole 5 minutes.
Inform you about what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi, like you haven't heard about it, or what happened in Pakistan and around lots of the world right now. Hey, right now, before this thing even happened in Jackson, Mississippi, a gentleman named Mr. Cammy Kitchens got in contact with us because there was a assisted care living facility down there where people needed to have a water generator, needed to have some help. So that was even before the flood. Before the flood happened, I've been up since 7 o'clock this morning, and I've been taking calls from everyone, from politicians to people who want to invest, donate, everything to help people all over the world. Everything that we've been talking about, or I've been trying to talk about for so long, actually seems to be.
And so, yeah, this brother right here, you know, he invented that water machine that makes water damn near basically out of thin air. And he's been warning people, you know what I'm saying, for a long time about these crises that are coming. You know, it's not going to end with Jackson, Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? And he's been trying to get people to donate to the cause to help him mass produce these water systems so that we could be proactive rather than reactive. But let me see. This might be showing you what the machines, how the machines work right here. Let me see. I don't want to play the music. I think that's just like the inside look at the machine. Can I go to his page? Let me go to his page. He got the GoFundMe in his bio. If you want to donate to help this brother out, really to help us out, just to help the people out, because he's doing the work, helping folks out. He got the GoFundMe right here in his bio. Oh, that opens up another page. Okay, I can't click that. But go to his page, Moses West Foundation on Instagram, and click the GoFundMe in his bio to help get some more of these machines made. These are huge machines. I guess it takes a lot of material to create the machines. And so He only has a few. But the more that we donate, then, you know, the more resources that he can have for supplies to hire people and teach people how to build the machine so that they could be, you know, mass produced. Moses West Foundation. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You could if you could get the link to his GoFundMe and put that in the chat, Jackson, that'd be helpful. All right, so let me see what else is going on out here that I could talk about real quick. Again, it's a lot of goddamn stories taking place, and I'm not going to be able to cover them all. But let me see if I can touch on just a few while we here today. Let me see, and y'all gonna have to bear with me. Like I said, I don't got everything set up the way that I wanted to set up, so I'm kind of just scrolling through our back channel to see what some of the stories were that we could talk about real quick. Okay, that one. Okay. Hold on one second, y'all. I'm gonna do one more story and then we're gonna move on. Let me see. Okay. I could do this one, I guess. Yeah, this is a pretty good one. So, did y'all see Stacey Abrams met up with Lil Baby? Did y'all see that? Stacey Abrams met up with Lil Baby to talk about voting and all of that. Let me share my screen with y'all again. All right. This was on the Shade Room, I think. Oh, no, that's not the Shade Room. Whatever channel this is.
You know, like at some point, you don't even understand that this type of stuff goes on. So it's like interesting to me to like really understand like how the world really works. So it ain't even really just like politics. It's just like the world, like what's really going on, like how it really go, how it really works.
We understand the mayor and we understand the president. They get away with so much because most of us don't learn about the state. And it's the state that decides. The state gets the money from the federal government, and the state decides how much money makes it to the local governments, how much the mayor gets. And I would love your help thinking about a big part of this is making sure people understand why the governor matters. The governor was the one who's going to make the decision. And if we could get that out there, these are the things we see, but if we don't know, they've made it so we won't know. And that's why I'm so excited about this, because we have a chance.
Man, when we see these politicians doing this,
hey, how you doing? Thank you. You know, like at some point, you don't even understand.
When we see these politicians doing this is an insult to Black intelligence, man. What's going on, Nikki the God? This is an insult to Black intelligence, man. Like, last election cycle, they was all running around talking to Cardi B, sitting down with Cardi B, talking about, you know, issues supposed to be issues pertaining to the Black community, but not really talking about issues that pertain to the Black community. Just pretending to talk about issues that pertain to the Black community. Everybody wants to sit down and talk to Cardi B. And even around that time, Lil Baby had put out a song. I think it was called The Bigger Picture. And it was a cool song or whatever. But when I was listening to some of the lyrics, I'm like, they sent Lil Baby to do this song. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't just a song that he went in the studio like he normally do and just came up with that. You could listen to the lyrics on that song and know that there was a meeting that took place with the Democrats where they was like, Lil Baby, you know, we need you to talk about this. We need you to talk about that, you know, because he's an influential young rapper, hot right now, one of the hottest rappers out right now. And so they're trying to get to young people in Black society, young people who are not really tapped in with what's going on as far as you know, Black politics and all of that. Young people that's not really tapped in. They're trying to get the young crowd that's just the loving hip hop crowd, you know what I'm saying? The turn up crowd, you know what I mean? The strip club crowd. Remember they had that little video with the strippers talking about get your booty to the pose and all of that shit. Remember that? Get your booty to the pose. You know, all of these different things that they was doing to kind of target a certain demographic within Black society to make up for those of us who are disengaging with the voting process. You know what I'm saying? So we're not the target audience when they do shit like this. It's not like they're trying to get to people like us and change our mind and get us to go out there and vote. They already know what it is as far as we concerned. You know what I'm saying? But they also know that there's still a segment of Black society out there who is completely asleep and lost. And they look to be embraced by the establishment. You know what I'm saying? And so for somebody who's supposed to be important, you know, Stacey Abrams, you running for governor and all of that, you must be somebody important. You know what I'm saying? To come around the hip hop crowd, Lil Baby, she was on the 85 South show saying some dumb shit. Matter of fact, I need to pull that up. I should have had that one pulled up already. But again, I wasn't ready for y'all today. I literally just came in the crib like 15 minutes before I went live. I thought I would have been done with my little errands and shit a little sooner, but it is what it is. But let me pull up this clip real quick with Stacey Abrams on the 85 South show. All right, here you go. And I think I got it queued up too. I ain't that unprepared. I wasn't that unprepared. I think I got it queued up right to the spot. Let me see. Might be a commercial. Hold on. Okay.
Another question is why?
Yeah, it's going to be an ad that plays real quick. Let me mute that. Let that ad go by. And then I'm going to remind y'all of this bullshit. And so they want to sit down and talk to the Black rappers. And they want to come to the hip hop crowd to try to sway niggas to the polls. And this is the shit that they come to us with. Hold on. Check it out.
Anyone who uses those tropes, it is their goal to distract us from the problem. Because if they wave the flag saying that somehow we're race baiting, then what they're arguing is that there can't be legitimacy to our critique. I know my critique is right. And I know the solution. And if you weren't afraid of the solution, you would actually be having a conversation with me about the problem and not creating these distractions of trying to create a false narrative about what I'm saying.
Right. Now, that ain't even the part I was talking about, but when did anybody accuse Stacey Abrams of race baiting? When did she talk about anything that have to do with race for them to say that she was race baiting? When? Nothing in her campaign had anything to do with Black people. The first time that she ran or this time. Nothing whatsoever. She had more LGBT issues and immigrant issues than anything else. So who was accusing her of race baiting? That was some bullshit. But this is the part right here I was looking for.
Another question is why are politicians so afraid to say that they're doing something specifically for Black people? Like they use the cloak of poor people and people of color, the underprivileged. Why is it that you can't just come out and say, I'm doing this for Black people because Black people need it? Because so many things have been done to us throughout the history of this country. So many things have been done to us, but very little has been done specifically for us. Why do you think that is?
Because African Americans represent 12% of the population. And so if you are a traditional politician doing the math, you think if I name this group, I am going to lose other people, and I can't get, if every single Black person voted for me, this may not get me what I want.
So that was a great question. And she immediately started with the canned bullshit. The response to the question is a canned response. These are the shit that they come up with and they think tanks. That's why she didn't have to think about it for a second. And then she have to go, you know, that's a good question. Perhaps, you know, it wasn't nothing that she had to ponder. It's a canned response. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, you know, people believe that the 12% thing is a whole lie. When they say we're only 12%, 13% of the population, a lot of people believe that's a whole lie. And that's just one part of it. But let's just say we are 12% of the population, right? Because at this juncture, we can't really prove otherwise. We could pose a good argument against it, but we can't really prove otherwise as of now. So let's just say we are only 12% of the population. What percent of the population are LGBTQ? How many people in the United States or in Georgia, since she's running for the governor of Georgia, how many people identify as LGBTQ? %2, 1.5%, 3%. That's very generous. I would say 3% is a generous percent. But they have no problem speaking specifically to LGBTQ issues, drafting legislation specifically for LGBTQ people. They have no problem doing that. What percentage of the population do Asians make up? Asian people don't vote in large numbers like that. They don't make up a large part of the population. What's going on, nyctegur? This Peace family said I survived training in this heat. Oh yeah, y'all said it was gonna be like 110 out there in Cali today. That's what's up. That's what's up. Listen, I got a link for you if you're trying to join. But yeah, Asians don't make up no large numbers. They don't mind doing something specifically for Asians. They do things specifically for illegal immigrants who are not even citizens, who can't even vote. They don't mind crafting legislation specifically for them. Right. They gave them 54, they gave the Asians 54 million during the pandemic. Right? We could talk about the small hat community. It wouldn't seem that way, but the small hat community is a tiny minority as well. And they have a lot of power and influence, and they get a lot of things specifically done for them and for Israel. A whole nother nation. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to black people, oh, you know, we can't really say anything, can't even say anything. Forget about legislation or having a whole platform, you know, having a whole campaign slogan or anything like that that's rooted around black issues. But we can't even say anything specifically mentioning black people. We have to mix it up. We have to say minorities, people of color. You know what I'm saying? We have to mix it up because you guys are such a tiny minority, and even if all of you guys vote for us, we still not going to win. But then in the next breath, they tell you how important the black vote is and how black women saved the country with their vote and all of that shit. I wish more folks would do stronger homework before interviewing these folks so they can know enough to push back to those insulting talking points. Right. I think as far as this 85 South show thing goes, what's his name? What's the brother's name right here? What's his name, man? Got Carlos, DC Young Fly, and what's the other brother's name? What's the other brother's name that asked her the question? I forgot his name. Where you at? Him right here. I forgot his name. But I think those brothers are pretty well informed. They're pretty tapped in. You know what I'm saying? And it was a good question that he asked. But at the same time, you know, they have these pre-production meetings and all of that beforehand. So they kind of discuss what could be said, what's going to be said, what's not going to be said, what's going to be talked about, what's not going to be talked about. You know what I'm saying? They kind of agree to all of that before they sit down and have these conversations. So it's only so far they could go. So he was allowed to ask the question because she already had the canned response. But then there's no real follow-up like what you're suggesting, Danielle. There's no real follow-up to say, well, that don't make no sense because what about this and what about that? You know what I'm saying? Because it's already been discussed in the pre-production that we only going to go this far with it. You know what I'm saying? You're going to ask this question. This is going to be my answer. And then we're going to segue on to the next topic. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it goes out here. And, you know, but yeah, we stop sharing that. Let me stop sharing that. And I'm gonna go to the Lord Jamar thing, man. I'm gonna go to the Lord Jamar thing because I ain't got enough time to go through all these news stories. Let me go to his channel. By the way, family, make sure that y'all hit the like button. Make sure that y'all share this out on your social media platforms. Let everybody know that we are live. And if you're watching this on another platform, make sure you head on over to the YouTube channel, click the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we go live with new episodes. All right, let me share my screen with y'all. And we're going to get back to this hip-hop conversation. Now, Lord Jamar, he did a broadcast about this whole who started hip-hop conversation last week or a few days ago, whenever it was. I get that, but it would almost be better to not have asked the question because she was allowed to put that out there. It's infuriating. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I definitely get it. But that's what we here for, man. That's our job. It's our job to clean all this shit up. You know what I mean? I was listening to Dr. Amos Wilson lecture recently, and he was making a point about the media. He was talking about the media and the propaganda that they use. And he was saying how when it comes to mainstream media, it's not necessarily about lying, and it's not necessarily about telling the truth either. It's all about promoting whatever their agenda is. You know what I'm saying? The media is always, the stories, when they tell the stories, it always has a slant that is beneficial to whatever their agenda is. It's supporting of whatever their agenda is. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily about just straight up lying, and it's damn sure not about just telling the truth about what's going on. It's really about, you know, what is going to support our agenda and help us maintain the status quo. And that's how they deliver the news and tell the stories. You know what I'm saying? They always got to put whatever slant benefits them the most. They say the intellectual Malcolm X, rest in power. Shout out to Todd 313. All right, so I don't got no timestamps queued up for this Jamar broadcast, but I'm gonna just go through it and, you know, respond accordingly. So let's see. Let's see.
Okay. As we building on this you know, I love Fat Joe.
Okay, let me bring it back. Let me bring it back. Let me bring it back. Let me bring it back just a little bit.
All right, so yeah, I was getting hit up. Yo, Lord Jamal, did you hear what Fat Joe said? Did you hear what Busta Rhymes said? No, I didn't. Like, what'd they say? You know? And I proceeded to, you know, receive clips, receive paraphrasings, all kinds of stuff I received. First of all, I want to say, man, those is my brothers, you know. I love Fat Joe. I love Buster. At the same time, I got to make knowledge born. I got to tell the truth as I know it.
And so let me just stop right there, because I want to say this, because this is really, that really just touches my overall point that I want to make about the broadcast that Lord Jamar did. You know what I'm saying? He kept it a buck. He told the truth of the matter, that it's a foundational Black American culture, and other people just got down with us. You know what I'm saying? The Puerto Ricans who were there in the early days didn't really contribute anything to the culture. They were assimilated into our culture. He kept it a buck as far as that's concerned. Volume too low. Can't hear. You can't hear me or him. You can't hear. Am I sounding good? Or was it just Lord Jamar's thing was sounding low? I might have to pause it when I play. I might have to mute myself when I play it so y'all can hear it better. But let me know what's going on with the volume. I know there's a little delay in the chat, but hopefully you guys can hear me good. Can't hear Lord Jamar. Okay, so I think I might have to mute myself when I play it. But yeah, so he told the truth in the broadcast, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I can feel his reluctance. He was reluctant to even have to do the broadcast in the first place. He really doesn't want to have to do this. You know what I'm saying? Because like he mentioned, these are his brothers. These are people that he's friends with. And that's understandable. But you know what I'm saying? I could tell the truth to my homies. Okay. Thank you. I could tell the truth to my homies. My homies ain't going to get mad at me speaking the truth. You know what I'm saying? If they is, especially about something like this, are they really my homies? Should I reconsider having them as my homies? Because if you got a problem with this truth, then what's up with that? You know what I'm saying? Let me know how you really feel. And so that was the whole thing really about the Lord Jamar thing. I felt like he was very reluctant to even have to have this conversation because he knows the truth that he has to speak is going to ruffle some feathers. And I told y'all when I did the broadcast about this last week that I've heard Lord Jamar on a few different occasions credit Puerto Ricans with being co-founders. Kind of in passing. He didn't do like no breakdown. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'm live right now, son. I'm live. You interrupted. All right, you want to practice DJ, and I'll let you practice after we get finished here.
Okay.
All right. All right.
But what was I about to say? You go to school to learn, not a rap or a fashion show.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I've heard him like mention it in passing, kind of say, yeah, you know, Puerto Ricans and blacks. And you know, he was reluctant to have to do this broadcast. But like he said, people was hitting him up like, Lord Jamar, you kind of quiet. You kind of quiet right now. It's a big conversation going on. You ain't saying nothing. What's up with that? So he know he had to speak on it. Him being who he was, he'd be remiss to ignore it. And so he had to speak on it, and he had to speak truth to power. You know what I'm saying? But he was very reluctant to do so. Now, there's a couple of things in here that I also had some issues with that I want to point out. And I wish I had the timestamps pulled up, but let's just go through it, man. Hold on.
Influences. Was it the foundational Black Americans? was it the West Indians? You know, they keep citing Kool Herc as being the West Indian influence of the creation of hip hop.
Let me know if that sounds better, family.
Then they're saying Puerto Ricans, 50%, and all of this type of stuff. And just a lot of things are being said. First of all, I just want to say for the record, I think it's very unfortunate that we're even getting sidetracked with all of this shit right now. You know, it's almost like somebody's putting that divide and conquer energy just amongst us. There's this real divide and conquer energy. And it's weird because I feel like as a person, you know, I guess this is almost how I guess mulattoes would feel. You know, it's like your allegiances, you feel torn sometimes, depending on what your background is. And I'm gonna get into that. But the truth is the truth, man. And we got to get into it. So real quick, before I get into this, let me get into my personal background, because there's a lot of things swirling around about me in concern with FBA and all of this fucking shit. People think they know who I am and what my background is and all that. So just let me give you a little bit about my background.
So without me having to play through all of that, let me just simplify it to say, Lord Jamal has a great-great-grandfather on his dad's side that is Guyanese. Right? His mother is FBA. His mother's side of the family is FBA. His father's side of the family comes from Guyana, but he didn't grow up with no Guyanese culture or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? He grew up, he didn't even know that he had, you know, a Guyanese great-great-grandfather until later on in life when he got a little bit older, right? And so after he says all of that, he asks the question like, okay, so, you know, as far as he goes into the reparations thing, kind of veers from the hip hop conversation a little bit to the reparations thing. It's like, okay, so what does that mean for a person like me, you know what I'm saying, who has that kind of background, which we've cleared up many times. You know what I'm saying? If you could trace one of your parents' lineage, you know, back to the killing fields of American slavery, then you're a foundational Black American and you qualify for reparations. That's been cleared up many, many, many times. So, you know, when he said that just let me know, again, you're not all the way tapped in with the conversation. And that's what happens a lot of times too with some of the older brothers who had knowledge of self for a long time back in the days. You kind of get to a point where you kind of get stuck and you stop updating yourself on the current conversation and the current information. You kind of feel like once you get to the point where you feel like you know it all, that's when you kind of cancel yourself out, because knowledge is infinite. You know what I'm saying? And we all should always remain a student. We all should always remain in the position of a student, constantly learning, constantly evolving. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you can get to the point where you're like, okay, I've been studying for so long. I've read all of these books and we've been building on this stuff for years. You get to a point where you think you know it all, and then you stop evolving. You know what I'm saying? And so Lord Jamal is not all the way tapped in with the current climate and the current conversation that's taking place as it pertains to foundational Black Americans and Black society at large. Because, you know, the foundational Black American conversation is really the root of what's going to happen, what's going to take place throughout the diaspora in the first place. You know what I'm saying? We are the actual tip of the spear as far as that's concerned. And shout out to Dr. Ma'at in the building. I see you, Dr. Ma'at. Appreciate you tapping in with me, beloved. Right? And so, yeah, that just lets me know that he kind of not all the way out of touch because he does do his broadcast, and I know a lot of people, he is on social media and people hit him up with certain information and all that, but you can't really do the knowledge just based off of a few sound bites. You can't really do the knowledge just based off a few sound bites. And it's crazy that Dr. Ma'at pulled up too, because I got a couple of clips from your page that I want to play today, beloved. There's a couple of clips from your page that I want to play today when I get into the main topic in just a little while, dealing with what Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING had to say about us not really having a culture as Black people in America, and how what we really have is an imposed culture. Our culture has been imposed upon us. And so I want to use a couple of clips from your page when we get to that part of the conversation. Right? So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that part of what Lord Jamar had to say. And let me try to fast forward a little bit here. Again, forgive me. I don't have the timestamps pulled up to get into what I really wanted to say. So I'm going to do my best to try to go through it here. Let me see where he's at.
Back in the days, you know, the Puerto Ricans would call us the Morenos and the Cocolos. That wasn't a complimentary word for Black people. Thank you, Charles Briggs. That wasn't a complimentary word for us. That was basically niggas in Puerto Rican. Oh, you're Moreno. Like I used to like Puerto Rican girls and all of that. So now you'd be like, oh, but you can't come to my house. My mother, she gonna bug out. You know, she doesn't like, you know what I mean? Like, let's keep it real. A lot of Puerto Ricans were prejudiced against Black people, but you did have pockets, you know, especially since in the hood, Puerto Ricans, especially certain hoods, Puerto Ricans and Blacks were living side by side. And one of those places were in certain parts of the Bronx. Certain parts of the Bronx, what we would call FBA, and Puerto Ricans were living side by side. You'd have other parts of the Bronx where FBA and Jamaicans were living side by side with each other. But let's keep it real again. Who had the most influence?
So again, he does keep it real about where the culture came from, who was the most influential and all of that. And he mentions how there was a lot of anti-Black racism coming from the Latino community, right? And he kind of contradicts himself a little bit when he talked about that, because he talked about, you know, when he mentions the ones that did embrace hip hop culture and the ones that did get down with us, he talks about it as if that offsets the anti-Black racism that came from their community, and it doesn't. What we're saying is the few individuals or the tiny minority of Puerto Ricans who got down with hip hop culture in the early days doesn't negate the fact that there was anti-Black racism coming from the Latino community. You know what I'm saying? And he talks about it when he talks about there was a girl that he dated and she couldn't bring him home because the moms was like, you know, she ain't want them dating no Morenos and shit like that. These are facts. These are facts. And so because Crazy Legs and a couple of other DJs or whatever got down with us doesn't mean it's now all of a sudden a Black and Puerto Rican thing. You know what I'm saying? The culture came from us. You know what I'm saying? We're the ones that were the influence for the Puerto Ricans and for the Caribbeans who were around. That's the reason why they weren't doing any of this in their homelands. You know what I'm saying? None of what was going on in hip hop was happening in Puerto Rico or in Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? It was only the Jamaicans and the Puerto Ricans who were here because they were being influenced by us. That's just the way that went. And so there was another point in his broadcast that I wanted to touch on too, without me trying to scroll through it and try to find the parts where it was at. See if I can remember. Peace, Crown 808, what's going on? Trying to see if I can remember one of the other points that didn't sit well with me when he was saying what he was saying. I might have to do a separate one for this. When I really, so I could put the timestamps together and just be able to go right to it, play what he said, and then I could react to it that way. Because other than that, this is going to be kind of scrambled all over the place. Right? So with that being said, let's get to the heart of the matter for today. And let me go back to the clip that I opened up with. Let me go back to the clip that I opened up the broadcast with. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. Oh no, that's the wrong one. My bad. Here it goes right here. Now let me reshare my screen with y'all. An imposed culture. Because the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, like I said, there was a certain reactions that people were having in the comment section when I posted this, because we've been out here getting some straightening as foundational Black Americans, and a lot of us been pounding on our chests and doing victory laps and all of that. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's important to not have premature celebrations. You know what I'm saying? And to understand that we're just scratching the surface with what we're doing now. You know what I'm saying? This whole conversation that we're having is an important conversation. Us claiming our cultural accomplishments as foundational Black Americans, and solidifying ourselves as a unique group. All of that is very important, what we're doing, but it's really just us laying the foundation for what actually needs to be done. And a lot of people, it seems to me that a lot of people believe that this is the end all be all. You know what I'm saying? Us doing this is the end all be all. And it's really not. We're going to have to go deeper. There's much more work that needs to be done. We're really just beginning to scratch the surface and take certain steps in the right direction. But we are far from the finish line. And so as we do this work, we're going to have to come to grips with certain hard truths. We can't only embrace the facts and the truths that sit well with us, the facts and the truths that don't bruise our egos at all. We're going to have to wrestle with the facts and the truths that are uncomfortable to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And this is one of those things. So let's get into it. Hopefully no commercial plays. Let me see. My bad. Hold on a second. Let the commercial pass. Let me let the commercial pass. All right. Here we go.
Years. In the last 500 years, Black people in this area of the world, we can say that there's no such thing as Black culture. What there is what the system of racism, white supremacy programs Black people to do. You see, in other words, if the system of racism, white supremacy says, you are not going to be scientists. You are not going to be highly functioning doctors and lawyers and teachers. You are not going to have stable family life. You are not going to respect sex. Now, your role is to entertain me so you can jump up and down and sing. You can dance, and yes, you're good at sports. You can do that in some venues.
And so we're gonna go through it. But let me stop right there, because a lot of people got their panties in a bunch immediately over this post. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just gonna keep it a buck, man. A lot of y'all in some of these circles is diet woke. Y'all are what we call diet woke. Y'all have not really done the knowledge out here. And I could tell by some of the comments that y'all be leaving. Somebody came on the post and said, hold on a second. It was a couple of people that was in their feelings over this. Somebody said, oh, hell no. I'm not agreeing with anyone that says we don't have a culture. I don't care how much word salad you garnish it with. I don't care how old you are. Wrong is wrong. If we don't have a culture, we sure do have a lot of people trying to claim the supposed non-culture that we created. Get the fuck out of here. That's what one person said. I said, listen, bro, that's all ego talking, and your choice of words is exposing your insecurity. I said, that's fine. We're all still learning, and we are at different stages of our development. I would suggest two things, and hopefully you hear, brother. I said, play this video at least 3 to 5 times and try not to be triggered, but really listen. Then you should tune into Sincere Love the Godcast on Sunday as we break it down, because I'm going to talk about you. I let him know that I was going to be talking about him on here. You know what I'm saying? And so this is what I mean by diet woke. This person don't even know who Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING is. He didn't even know who was speaking. You know what I'm saying? But you feeling some type of way because you've been in a couple of Twitter spaces, you know, you watched a couple of YouTube videos or whatever the case may be, or, you know, you follow Tariq Nasheed or Jason Black or whoever, whatever the case may be, and you heard a couple of things that you like. You heard a couple of things that stroked your ego, like, oh yeah, I'm a foundational Black American. You're right. We are the culture. You know what I'm saying? You heard some things that you like, and you now you got your chest poked out. You know what I'm saying? And so now you didn't do the knowledge to go deeper into the information and to find out, you know, whose shoulders are these people that you're listening to even standing on in the first place. So you don't even know who Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING is. And then you start talking crazy about her. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else said, hold on. Somebody else said, I don't care who this woman is. She's wrong. Our culture is more than entertainment. Right? People are so offended by the truth these days. Right? Yeah, it's a lot of people yelling FBA without knowing anything about FBA. I'm gonna rock their foundation. Mark my words. Shout out to Ty. Right? And so, yeah, he says, I don't care who this woman is. She's wrong. Our culture is more than entertainment. Now, the woman who is speaking is a doctor. She's Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING. So it's not like she's not aware that we have Black doctors, Black scientists, you know, Black engineers, so on and so forth. She's a doctor herself. She's not an entertainer. She's not a singer or anything like that. You know what I mean? She's not an athlete or anything like that. She's a doctor. So obviously she's quite aware that we have Black folks in all of these different fields of endeavor. However, these are not the things that Black people are known for as a group, right? There's been plenty of rappers who say, you know, Jay-Z said, all us Blacks got us sports and entertainment until we even. You know, Biggie Small said, either you're slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. You know, Jay-Z recently, when he doing a Twitter space talking about the verse that everybody been talking about. I should have talked about that a little bit earlier, but talking about his verse on Khaled's album that everybody been talking about for whatever reason. He was in the Twitter space and he was talking about, you know, him making it to the level that he's at in spite of the limitations that have been placed on us, and in spite of the areas that we've been marginalized to. You know what I'm saying? He managed to make a way to get to the level where he was at. And so we're aware that we've been relegated to certain aspects of society, you know what I'm saying, as a group. Of course, we have individuals who are in all these other categories and so forth. But as a group, what are we most known for? It's our entertainers. Why you think Stacey Abrams is sitting down talking with Lil Baby? Stacey Abrams is sitting down talking with Lil Baby. She's not sitting down talking with one of our black doctors or one of our black scientists or one of our black lawyers. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who it would make more sense to talk to about black issues, one of our economists or something. You know what I mean? She's sitting down talking to Lil Baby. You know what I mean? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all them was sitting down talking to Cardi B. You know what I mean? They might sit down and talk to somebody like LeBron James or something like that. You know what I mean? And even with that, they still pick and choose because they don't want to talk to Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying? If you are going to talk to a rapper, you know what I mean? Why are you not talking to somebody who actually has substance in their rhymes? Somebody who actually, you know, has a perspective when it comes to, you know, socio-political issues as it pertains to black society. You know what I mean? You're not talking to like Mos Def or somebody like that. You're talking to Lil Baby. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, when it comes to what we are known for, like when you think about lawyers, right? If you want to get a good lawyer, somebody tell you they got a Jewish lawyer, you know they got themselves a good lawyer, right? Because their community is known for that field. You know what I'm saying? That's part of their culture. They practice law. You know what I'm saying? It's not just a few people who are Jewish who are lawyers. That's actually a part of their culture. They're known for that. You know what I'm saying? The jewelers, the lawyers, the bankers, so on and so forth. This is what their community is known for. This is what people associate with their community. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a difference between having certain individuals in the community who do certain things, who are pretty much, I don't want to say anomalies, you know what I'm saying? But it's just not part of black culture, right? So that's like the base part of what she's trying to say. But the deeper part of what she's saying is everything that we've done up to this point, you know, even though we could point out many brilliant things that we've come up with, right? And we can say that we have been influential, but everything that we have come up with and up until this point has been a reaction to our circumstances. It has been in spite of our oppression. So can we truly say, like hip hop, for example, we wouldn't have created hip hop if it wasn't for the poverty and the degradation that was taking place. Hip hop was created as a response to our condition. Right? So this is something that has been imposed on us. We had to create hip hop. Hip hop is a survival mechanism. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that we naturally came up with on our own free will. So can we truly say that we have a black culture if we are constantly responding to conditions that are placed upon us? Yes, we've come out with many brilliant things. You know what I'm saying? We have. This is the reason why we are so influential, I believe. I believe the reason why we are so influential is because based on the conditions that we've had to endure in this country, we still do all of these wonderful, brilliant things in spite of that condition. And so that's what people marvel at, because we're not even supposed to be here. We're not even supposed to survive the shit that we've been through. And so the fact that we still standing upright, you know what I'm saying? We still looking fly. You know what I'm saying? We still got all this swag and all of that. That's amazing to people because they understand our history. They know what we've been through. They try to pretend like they don't, but they understand the history of foundational Black Americans. And so when they look at us, they like, damn, how are these people doing this? So that's the reason why we're so influential, because what we're doing is miraculous. It's not supposed to happen. But at the same time, we have to go deeper and look at the circumstances that created these things that we call Black culture. Because that's the foundation, that's the root of it. There's a cause and then there's an effect. And so we're looking at the effect and we're saying, yeah, we this and we that and the third. And we calling that Black culture. But what was the cause in the first place? The cause were conditions that were placed upon us by the system of white supremacy, the system of oppression. Right? So we don't really know what Black culture truly looks like. And we won't really know what Black culture truly looks like until we completely dismantle the system and come up with a system of our own. And then we'll see what we produce. And so we think we're doing some fly shit now. Imagine what we would do if nobody's foot is on our neck. Imagine what we would come up with and the type of culture we would produce if we weren't being socially engineered. Right? If we weren't being miseducated, if our communities weren't being flooded with drugs, if our water systems weren't being compromised, like what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi right now. You know what I'm saying? If we were in a society that was designed by our own Black minds, we had the freedom, the power, the wealth, and the influence to decide what our own destiny is going to be. Then we will see what Black culture really is. Then we can see what Black culture really is. Everything else that we have now is just a response to our conditions. So let me let her finish.
That's what I'm going to allow you to do. I'm not going to allow you to have stable communities, because if you have a Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'm going to burn that down. If you think you're going to stabilize a so-called middle-class community and you're going to have a home that's mortgaged, I'm going to see that those mortgages are foreclosed so that you can be into family dissolution, place of living dissolved. So what we can say is that we have an imposed culture under the power dynamics of racism, white supremacy. See, I can see right now in my mind the picture of Beyonce with her legs wide open at the Super Bowl for last year. It was so appalling to me, I can't get it out of my mind in terms of what has been done to us. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we would be wiser. No, we are trying to get ourselves to the point where we can establish what we would then call Black culture.
Right. So we're just trying to get to that point where we can establish what we would call Black culture. We're just trying to get to that point. We're just now beginning to take steps in the right direction, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? A good number of us anyway. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, of course, you know, we love our entertainers. We love Beyonce. We love hip hop and all of this stuff. But we got to sit back and think, like, would this be what we would be doing on our own? Is this is this how we would present ourselves on our own? Or is this us trying to make our way through the cracks and try to figure out a way to maneuver through the system to become what we see as successful? You know what I'm saying? It's the system that tells us sex sells. That's not something that we came up with. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones that said sex sells, so I got to be sexy. I got to drop it like it's hot. I got to bust it open. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I'm not going to make it. Who told you that? Who told you that? Right? Who told you that you can't make music that is edifying for the mind and the soul and be successful? Who told you that you can't be fully dressed as a woman and not showing off, you know, your cleavage and your ass and all of that and still be successful? Who told you that? That's not your own unique idea that you came up with on your own. Again, that's you trying to find your way through the system. So that's what we call an imposed culture. It's an imposed culture. That's not something that we thought of on our own.
But we will no longer be victims of a system of racism, white supremacy. So once the system of racism, white supremacy has been replaced with a system of justice, that's when we will start talking about our culture. That's when we will begin talking about who we really are as Black people.
So we haven't seen it yet, family. Although we've done many great things, we have not seen what we really can do. We have no idea what our true potential is as a people, because we have not had the ability to decide our own destiny as a group. You know what I'm saying? And so let me go to Dr. Ma'at's page real quick. There's a couple of short clips on her page that coincide with what we're talking about here. One was when Dr. Ma'at was chopping it up with our sister Vicky Dillon. They had brought up a good point. Oh, I didn't mean to stop sharing. Hold on. Let me reshare. They brought up a good point talking about how our thoughts are not our own. Let's get into that real quick.
And so some of the thoughts that we actually think some thoughts, that's our thoughts.
They're not. They're implanted.
And so some of the thoughts that we actually think some thoughts, that's our thoughts.
They're not. They're implanted.
Come on.
They're implanted. They're implanted. Shout out to right now. I'm thinking of Dr. Amos Wilson. And I read his book, Blueprint for Black Power, cover to cover. It's 868 pages. And I read and I studied every page. Dr. Amos Wilson often talked about in his book, Blueprint for Black Power, and in his lectures on YouTube, he talked about how our tastes are manipulated. He talked about how our thoughts aren't even our own thoughts. He said the only way, Dr. Amos Wilson said, the only way your thoughts are your own thoughts or organic thoughts. He said, if you lived in outer space in a vacuum, he said, but we don't live in a vacuum. So if you ever lived in a vacuum or in outer space, then yes, your thoughts are your own thoughts. But he said, we belong to a society.
Come on now.
You know, he said, so as long as you belong to a family, a community, a society, things are being implanted into you. You're being exposed to things. Your tastes are being formed and conditioned. Hell, your mind is.
Come on.
And so that's just a fact, man. That's just a fact. We believe that our thoughts are our own, and we have these ideas, like she said, in a vacuum, but it's just not true. From the time that you are born, you are being bombarded with somebody else's ideas about you. You know what I'm saying? You're being surrounded and bombarded with images of yourself and of your oppressors. All of those images are being presented to you in a certain way that programs your mind to see the world a certain way. I don't care how woke we think we are. We're not exempt from that. That's just the way that the brain works. You know what I'm saying? We're all susceptible to the programming on different levels, but we're all susceptible to the programming. I don't care how many books you done read, how many lectures you done sat through and all of that stuff. You are still within this society and are susceptible to a certain level of programming. That's just the way that it is. You know what I'm saying? We're not exempt from that. Hold on a second. Let me go to the other one. Let me go to the other one. Where is it? Okay, yeah. This one right here. This one right here.
Cultural creations of white people. We're not just talking about black folks who act white. We're talking about black people who act in a self-destructive manner. Cultural creations of white people. We're not just talking about black folks who act white. We're talking about black people who act in a self-destructive manner based on definitions given to them by white people.
Baba, say, white people. Hold on, Baba. You gotta say that again. Say that again, Baba. When you say cultural creation, what's the definition of a cultural creation of a European? What's that, Baba?
Yeah. So when we say blacks, we are cultural creation of Europeans. We're not just talking about black folks who act white. We're talking about black people who take on the definitions of black people that white people have created. Right. So if white people created the black savage, when you take on that definition, you're a creation. You're a cultural creation of white people. White people created that. White people created the sellout. White people created the coon. White people created the buck. White people culturally created the athlete that's only good for knocking people over. You know, they was big time sport on the plantation, Baba. Right? So cultural creations of white people. Right? When we talk about cultural creation of Europeans, we're talking about black people who put ourselves and remain in that box of what white society says black people belong.
Come on, Baba. The thug, the bad, right? The thug, the bad
athlete.
You know what I'm saying? Baba.
The whoremonger, the as Dr. Branch called me back in the day, the philanderer.
And so what we want to do with our egos and all of that is we want to take credit for the fly shit that we call black culture. You know what I'm saying? We out here fighting for our credit for creating hip hop. You know what I'm saying? We want to take credit for, you know, the other music forms, the jazz and the gospel and some of the fly things that we've come up with, some of the great inventions that we've brought to the table. You know what I'm saying? Us building the United States of America. I don't know if we want to really call that some fly shit, but it is the most powerful nation on the planet, and we did build it. We want to take credit for those things. But when we look at what we call black culture, we have to look at it in its totality, and we got to take the fuck shit that comes with it too. When we're talking about the savage and we're talking about the thug and we're talking about the coon and all of these things, all of that is a part of black culture. We can't just take the parts that we like and say this is what black culture is. We have to look at it in its totality. All of these things are different parts of who we are as a people, who we have been conditioned to be as a people. And this is what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing is talking about when she says we don't really have black culture. We have an imposed culture. These are things that have been imposed on us based on our condition, based on the oppression, because we're reactionary. We're just responding. We're in survival mode. And so again, we have not seen our true potential. So we really don't know what black culture truly looks like in its glory. We don't. That's just the reality of it, family. That's just the reality of it. And we have to understand that we got to put the ego to the side. We have to put the ego to the side, and we can't be doing these victory laps and just patting ourselves on the back like, like we've accomplished something. We barely moving the needle, family. We barely moving the needle as far as where we need to be and where we need to go. Hold on a second. Hold on. See if I can find this right here. Let me see if I can find this right here. Oh yeah, there you go. Let me play this for y'all. This is how I feel. This is me. Yeah, let me close that. This is me when I see niggas doing victory laps because we done got some straightening with Busta Rhymes and Fat Joe, Crazy Legs. You know what I'm saying? We done checked these fools and put them in their place, and we done debunked this bullshit they was out here talking about. And then we start high-fiving each other and all of that shit. This is me when I see niggas doing all of that. Dang. It's commercials, man. It's commercials, man. Hold on a second. Man, come on. All right, let me bring this back.
No, you want to win. And
Yeah.
It's really it's hard, man. It's hard to be in that environment when, you know, we're literally like at the bottom of the league.
Well, you're welcome to come hang out here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's tough.
I saw a clip today that I feel like I have to show you because I must know what your reaction to this is. So the Lakers had an 8-game losing streak. They beat the Celtics. Overtime. Great. This is from after that game.
This got interesting. Come back to Force OT. You got the friends here.
You feel me? We back in the building. Y'all thought we was gone. My man Jay Lane was doing his thing. Jay Hill doing his thing.
Nick out there hitting his free throws. You know how he do it. You know, Jay Lane going to the basket like they nothing over to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Mike, man, you got a nice suit on today, too, man.
Appreciate that, right?
You got that.
Wow.
Now, would that happen if you were there? Would there be a celebration?
When I saw that, all I could think of was you.
Hey, did you see the movie Whiplash?
Fair use, by the way, family. That's how I feel when I be seeing niggas high-fiving and shit, man. That's how I feel when I see niggas out here doing victory laps and shit, man. We ain't done nothing yet, family. We ain't done nothing yet, family. Shout out to Tory and Rain. B1, brother. We ain't done nothing. We ain't got nothing to celebrate, man. We still at the bottom. We are still at the bottom. What the hell is we celebrating? Come on, man. In order for us to get where we gotta go, we're gonna have to accept some of these harsh, uncomfortable realities about our condition as a people. We have to focus on the problems. We can't just focus on, you know, what we see as the badges of honor. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna get nowhere focusing on that. We got to go to the problem in order to come up with solutions. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I see none of the dudes that was in the comments pulled up. I invited them to come to the show, man, because I wanted to get some pushback on this, because honestly, I felt some type of way about niggas' energy toward Dr. Francis CRESS WELSING. I'm like, what is y'all talking about? Like, this is not to say that we have to agree point for point with everything that the master teachers have said, right? There's certain information that might need to be updated. There's certain information that might have just been wrong. You know what I'm saying? And so we're not supposed to just stand on the foundation that they laid. We're supposed to build upon it. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to continue to do the knowledge and continue to evolve. You know what I'm saying? And to add to what was given to us. Right? So that doesn't mean that we have to agree point for point with everything that they said. But if I listen to something that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said, and I don't agree with it, right? And I think it's wrong. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ponder my own thoughts. Why am I disagreeing with this woman? Because she's superior in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Her mind is superior to mine. So if I'm disagreeing, I'm going to think I must be wrong. I must have something wrong here. So I'm going to investigate my own thoughts. I'm going to investigate my own process. What is it about my current beliefs that is making me disagree with what's being said here? Right? That's going to be like my initial reaction to it. And if I still can't find anything that makes me change my mind, then I'm just going to chew the meat and spit out the bones. I'm not going to say, man, fuck out of here, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. You don't know what the fuck you talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's just shows a level of emotional immaturity. It's a lot of emotional immaturity, especially from the men. And that's what's really sad. It's the dudes that be coming in the comment section with their panties in the bunch. It's like, yo, if you know what I'm saying, chew the meat and spit out the bones. If it ain't for you, it ain't for you. Might not be for you right now. I might disagree today because there might be something that I still haven't learned yet. I might still have to grow to another level for me to even be able to accept certain parts of the reality. And so if I'm not there today, I'm not there today. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to chew the meat and spit out the bones, but I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm not going to get all in my feelings about it. Because, Tori and Rain, I know you just came on a little bit late, but I had posted the clip from Dr. Francis Cress Welsing when she was talking about how we don't really have Black culture. What we have is an imposed culture, right? And there were people in the comments on the post really being disrespectful toward Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. You know what I'm saying? Talking about she don't know what she's talking about, and I don't care who this old lady is. She wrong, and you know what I'm saying? And so the people that were saying that, I invited them to come on today. Like I sent them the link and everything. Like, yo, pull up. Let's chop it up. But of course, they're not here. They're not here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, we gotta, as men, we gotta do better. We gotta do better than that. The sisters, I know all of my sisters that follow me don't necessarily agree with what she was saying right away, or it didn't necessarily sit well with them when they first heard it. But they wasn't in my comment section talking shit though. It was the dudes. It was the dudes that just can't handle it. They get triggered. They get their little ego bruised and they start typing. They start typing in all caps. We got to do better, brothers. We got to do better. But, man, that about does it today, man. You know what I mean? I appreciate y'all tuning into Sincere Love the Godcast today, man. Make sure that you guys, again, like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I don't think we have a show this Wednesday, but Thursday we got another episode of the Black Business Showcase this Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. So make sure that you guys tune in for that. Right, Nicely Girl, you still here? I think that's correct. We had somebody booked for Wednesday, but they canceled. So no show this Wednesday. We'll be here Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. And of course, we always here on Sundays, usually at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, where we talk current events and other important issues pertaining to Black society. Shout out to Derek Fuller. So make sure that y'all tune in for that as well. Click the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, man. Make sure that you're following me. I'm at Sincere Love the God on all social media platforms. Make sure that you guys check out the music on your favorite streaming platforms. Type in Sincere Love the God. We got the Spear and the Shield streaming on all your favorite platforms. The latest single called The Plandemic streaming on all your favorite platforms as well. And we got a new project coming real soon, me and my brother DJ RP Beats. So stay tuned for that as well. I think that does it. So yeah, what I'm gonna do, family, is I'm gonna find the timestamps from the Lord Jamal Godcast, and I'm gonna do a reaction to that one day this week. I'll figure out the parts that I wanted to talk about on that broadcast, and I'll go live and do my reaction to that one of the days this week. So look for that one as well. And I'm gonna do it on here because I need to show the video. So yeah, that does it for today's episode, family. Remember, like I always tell y'all, we are not the master teachers, but we are the master students and signal boosters for the voices of the new Black media. I'll see y'all in a couple of days. Peace and Black love.
Do for self or suffer the consequences. The wisdom of Elijah's inside of the conscientious. So I move.